to a new edition of Africa Today. In this edition of the program, we will review some reports from the African continent, and Cairo is pushing the EU to release 4 billion euros in aid and proposing Africa-focused ties. This came during a meeting with EU Commissioner for International Partnerships, Joseph Scala, on Sunday. Details follow.
Foreign Minister Abdellatif on Sunday pressed the European Union to fast-track the release of the second tranche of a 4 billion euros financial support package as Cairo seeks to deepen strategic and economic ties with the bloc. Speaking during talks in Cairo with EU Commissioner for International Partnerships Joseph Scala, Abdellatif emphasized the importance of accelerating funding to support Egypt's development efforts in key sectors, including renewable energy, healthcare, port modernization and rail infrastructure. Abdellatif also proposed expanding Egypt-EU cooperation to include joint initiatives with African nations, particularly in capacity building, electricity, mobile health services and agriculture. He called for more inclusive African participation in EU-led development projects and greater support for African SMEs and private sector engagement. He stressed the need to activate strategic corridor projects agreed at the 2022 EU-Africa Summit, positioning Egypt as a key regional hub. He cited the Egyptian Agency of Partnership for Development's track record in delivering assistance across the continent and reiterated Egypt's commitment to regional integration and triangular development cooperation. The EU's six-pillar strategic partnership with Egypt includes economic cooperation, energy, migration, security, digital transition and education. Cairo has been urging faster implementation amid growing fiscal pressures and wider regional instability.
And a meeting between Foreign Minister Abdellatif and Senior Advisor to the U.S. President on Middle Eastern Affairs, Masad Boulos, was held in Cairo on Sunday. The meeting discussed developments in Africa and ways to enhance trilateral cooperation in the continent. More in the coming report.
Foreign Affairs Minister Abdellatif and Senior Advisor to the U.S. President on Arab and Middle Eastern Affairs, Masad Boulos, discussed several regional crises and African issues on Sunday. During the meeting in Cairo, both sides reviewed the latest rapid developments in Libya. Abdellatif reiterated Egypt's firm position towards the Libyan crisis, stressing the importance of preserving Libya's unity, stability and territorial integrity. He also highlighted the necessity of maintaining the Libyan people's exclusive right to lead the political process, supporting and strengthening the role of legitimate Libyan institutions, and working toward unifying executive, economic and security institutions. He also underscored the necessity of disbanding militias and ensuring the complete withdrawal of all foreign forces, fighters and mercenaries from Libya, rejecting any illegitimate military presence by foreign actors in the country. The meeting also addressed developments in Lebanon, where Abdellatif affirmed Cairo's commitment to supporting Lebanon, its government and national institutions to achieve security and stability. He also emphasized the need to implement the hostilities cessation agreement and to ensure the immediate and complete withdrawal of Israeli forces from southern Lebanon. He further asserted the importance of all parties implementing UN Security Council Resolution 1701 comprehensively and without selectivity. Regarding developments in Syria, Abdellatif affirmed Cairo's commitment to supporting the Syrian people and respecting Syria's sovereignty, unity and territorial integrity. Both sides also discussed ways to enhance trilateral cooperation in Africa, support peace, security and development and resolve conflicts peacefully per U.S. President Donald Trump's directives. Additionally, they reviewed the challenges to peace and security on the African continent, particularly developments in the Horn of Africa, Sudan and the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. Abdellatif highlighted Cairo's efforts to support Africa, strengthen economic cooperation, and open new prospects for trade and partnership within the African continent. He also spotlighted the role of the Egyptian Agency of Partnership for Development and the Egyptian Export and Investment Guarantee Agency in Africa, which work with a capital of up to $600 million. He noted that the Egyptian government has allocated $100 million to implement development projects in the southern Nile Basin countries.
And now we are joined over the phone by Mr. Abdellatif Wahba, journalist, to shed more light on this topic. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So, Mr. Abdellatif, during a meeting in Cairo between Foreign Minister Abdellatif and EU Commissioner for international partnerships expanding Egypt-EU cooperation to include initiatives with African nations was the focus of the talks. How would you elaborate on the importance of such cooperation?
Yeah, of course, as you know that Egypt is trying to solve all the problem of the Middle East, especially in Syria and Libya and Sudan, and also in Palestine. So the visit of the U.S. envoy to Egypt, Witkoff, discussed with His Excellency Minister of Foreign Affairs, how can they implement the international resolutions that issued from the United Nations and the Security Council to suffocate all these problems, especially in Lebanon, for example. As you know that you noticed that during the last weeks, Israel launched many attacks against the Lebanese, and also the same they did in Syria, and still working in their aggressions against the Syrian states, although the U.S. administrations raised Syria from the blacklist of terrorism. At the same time, they discussed what is the current situations in Sudan, and the escalations between the rebel forces and the Sudanese army and so on. This is, of course, the main issues. As you know that Egypt put in its agenda during the current time. Why? Because all these issues influenced not only the states of the Middle East, but also on Egypt itself. As you know that the area and the Egypt faced many economic challenges because of this conflict, especially after the Houthi group launched missiles against Israel, and still insisting on attacking the maritime in Bab el-Mandab and so on.
Yes, Mr. Abdellatif, the talks discussed a more inclusive African participation in EU-led development project. How would you describe the effect of the EU's development projects in Africa?
Yeah, of course. We can say that the image was completely changed in EU, especially after their previous views on the conflict itself in the Middle East, and when they supported at the beginning of the Israeli aggression, they supported Israel for their self-defense, as they called it, and supported it also in their in its attack against the Palestinians who are treated as a terrorist group. But now the image was completely changed. All the EU states, even the other countries out of European Union, they criticized the Israeli aggressions against the Palestinians. They asked the United Nations and the Security Council to open the border for the humanitarian aid and relief to the Gaza people, and this is the the main priority for the Egyptian administration is to help the Gazan people, especially as you know that after the break of the war, Israeli resumed it again against the Gazan people. They didn't launch their attack against the Palestinians only, but they are intending to kill even the children. This is, of course, the difficult situation just now.
Yes. So how do you weigh the importance of giving greater support for African small and medium enterprises and private sector engagement as discussed during the meeting?
Yeah, of course, as you know that Egypt is trying to improve the small and medium entrepreneurs during that time, especially after they reached a deal with the EU, for example, for a financial aid. The EU pledged $7 billion to Egypt. We took $1 billion, and then we are still waiting for the final approval for the second track, $4 billion. This is, of course, it means how can you achieve the goal of improving the industrial sectors, economic sectors here in Egypt, and at the same time, you know that EU supported this program. This is, of course, for the sake, at the same time, for the sake of the EU itself, as Egypt managed to cut and to end the illegal immigration for the EU states.
Sir, one final question. Foreign Minister Abdellatif stressed on the need to activate the strategic corridor projects agreed at the 2022 EU-Africa Summit, positioning Egypt as a key regional hub. How would you elaborate on the importance of the corridor and Egypt's position in this regard?
It is an important corridor for the EU countries. As you know that in this time, in the current deteriorations of the political situations in the Middle East, they are searching for a secured energy. So they are trying just now to help Egypt in creating more projects for generating the what can we say, green energy to be exported to Europe. And at the same time, as you know, that Egypt is naturally a hub for energy in the Middle East just now.
Yes, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Abdellatif Wahba. Thank you, sir, for being with us. And going back to our reports from the African continent, the clashes erupted on Tuesday between the Sudanese regular army and driver paramilitaries in Durman, Khartoum's twin city, which the army calling the fighting part of a large-scale offensive. Details follow.
The Sudanese army and paramilitaries are clashing near Khartoum. An AFP correspondent at the scene said explosions rang out in the area where the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF had retreated after losing control of the Sudanese capital in March. The army said its operation, which began on Monday, was aimed at driving the paramilitaries from their last positions in Khartoum state. Military spokesman Nabil Abdullah said in a statement that the army is pressing a large-scale operation and is close to clearing the whole of Khartoum state from thugs. The war since April 2023 has pitted the army, headed by Sudan's de facto leader Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, against the RSF under his former deputy Mohammed Hamdan Daglo. The fighting comes as both the army and the RSF are attempting to establish their own governments. On Monday, Army Chief Burhan has tapped a former United Nations official, Kamel Idris, as a new Prime Minister, a move seen by analysts as an attempt to gain international recognition and present a functioning civilian-led government amid the ongoing war. The African Union on Tuesday welcomed the appointment, calling it a step toward inclusive governance and expressing hope that the move will restore constitutional order and democratic governance in Sudan. The RSF announced in April it would form a rival administration a few weeks after signing a charter in Kenya with a coalition of military and political allies. The war has killed tens of thousands, displaced 13 million, and sparked what the United Nations describes as the world's worst humanitarian crisis.
Well, dear viewers, by that we come to the end of today's edition of Africa Today. Thank you for watching.